Abandoned my 3-year relationship for a high school promise. My ex remembered our marriage pact. And now we're married. Life-changing decision. Have you ever made a promise in your youth that you never expected to keep? Something silly, something romantic, something that seemed like it belonged to the realm of movies rather than real life? I did. And then, 14 years later, that promise came knocking on my door, quite literally, and turned my entire life upside down. This is the story of how I abandoned a stable 3-year relationship to honor a marriage pact I made in high school, and how that decision changed everything. Was it reckless? Absolutely. Was it the right choice? Well, that's what I'm here to tell you. The Promise, Graduation Night, 2011. The summer air hung heavy with possibility as our graduating class celebrated at Tyler Matthews's lake house. The kind of night that feels infinite when you're 18, where the future stretches before you like an open road, and anything seems possible. Emma and I sat on the dock, feet dangling in the cool water, slightly buzzed from cheap beer and drunk on the feeling of finally being done with high school. We'd been dating since sophomore year, first loves, high school sweethearts, all those cliches that somehow don't feel like cliches when you're living them. "I can't believe you're going to UCLA and I'm stuck at Boston University," she said, resting her head on my shoulder. 3,000 miles is a lot of miles. We'd had this conversation 100 times already. I had a basketball scholarship I couldn't turn down. She had a pre-med program that perfectly aligned with her dreams. Neither of us wanted to hold the other back. "Long-distance relationships in college never work," I said, repeating the conventional wisdom we'd both reluctantly accepted. "We should experience college without feeling tied down. It's the mature decision." "The mature decision sucks," Emma replied, taking another sip of her beer. We sat in silence for a while, watching the reflection of the moon ripple across the lake. Then Emma turned to me, her expression suddenly animated. "Let's make a pact," she said, eyes bright with inspiration. "What kind of pact?" "If we're both single by the time we're 32, we'll find each other and get married." I laughed. 32? That's so random. "It's not random," she insisted. "By 32, we'll have established our careers, maybe gotten some wild oats out of our systems, but still young enough to start a family if we want to." I was charmed by her certainty, by the way she could make something so impulsive sound so logical. That was Emma, spontaneous yet practical, a combination that had always fascinated me. "Okay," I agreed, holding out my pinky. "If we're both single at 32, we'll get married." We linked pinkies, sealed it with a kiss, and then carved our initials into the wooden dock with my pocket knife, adding 32 underneath. It felt significant in the moment, a promise to the universe, a safety net for our hearts. But as the summer ended, and we both left for opposite coasts, the pact faded into the background, becoming just another bittersweet memory of my first love. Or so I thought. The present. Life with Olivia. Fast forward 14 years. At 32, my life looked nothing like what 18-year-old me had imagined. After college and a brief stint playing professional basketball in Europe, a knee injury forced me to reconsider my career path. I leveraged my sports background into sports marketing, landed a job with a major athletic apparel company in Portland, and worked my way up to senior brand manager. I had a downtown apartment with a view of the Willamette River, a group of close friends, and a 3-year relationship with Olivia. Olivia and I met at a charity event my company was sponsoring. She was smart, ambitious, beautiful, and kind, a corporate attorney with a passion for environmental law and hiking. On paper, we were perfect together. Similar values, compatible life goals, and healthy communication patterns that my therapist had once described as refreshingly functional. Was it the passionate, all-consuming love of youth I'd experienced with Emma? No, but I'd come to believe that was a good thing. Our relationship was stable, supportive, and drama-free. We were discussing moving in together, had met each other's families, and while we weren't officially engaged, marriage was a when, not an if. Then came the email that changed everything. The email that changed everything. It was a Tuesday evening in May. Olivia was working late on a case, and I was catching up on emails before making dinner. Among the work messages and subscription newsletters was a name I hadn't seen in my inbox for over a decade: Emma Sullivan. My heart did a strange little flip as I clicked on it. Subject: A promise is a promise. Dear Ethan, this is either the craziest email I've ever sent or the most romantic. I'm still deciding which. Do you remember the night of Tyler's graduation party, sitting on the dock, making a pact to marry each other if we were both single at 32? Well, I turned 32 last month, and I remembered our promise. After some social media stalking, not sorry, I discovered you live in Portland now. As fate would have it, I just accepted a position at Oregon Health and Science University. I start next month. I don't know if you're single. I don't know if you even remember this pact. But I'm taking a leap of faith here because I am single, and I do remember, and I've never been able to fully let go of what we had. I'm not asking you to upend your life. I'm just asking if you'd be willing to meet for coffee when I'm in town next week to look at apartments. For old times' sake, if nothing else. No pressure. If you're happily coupled up, just consider this a hello from your past. But if you're not, well, a promise is a promise, right? Emma. She included her phone number at the bottom of the email. I read it 3 times, each time feeling like I'd been transported back to that summer night. The smell of lake water and the sound of our friends' laughter in the background. Emma Sullivan. My first love. The girl I'd measured everyone against for years before finally stopping. And she remembered our pact. I should have deleted the email. I should have responded with a polite, "Great to hear from you, but I'm in a relationship." I should have immediately told Olivia about it. I did none of those things. Instead, I saved the email, closed my laptop, and spent the evening in a strange fog of nostalgia and confusion. When Olivia called to say she'd be working through the night, I felt an inexplicable sense of relief that I wouldn't have to face her just yet. That night, I dreamed of Emma for the first time in years. The coffee date. For 3 days, I carried the secret of Emma's email like a hot coal in my pocket. I didn't respond, but I couldn't forget it either. I found myself Googling her name, discovering she'd become a pediatric surgeon, had lived in Chicago for the past 6 years, and had recently been featured in a medical journal for her innovative approach to rare childhood heart conditions. Emma Sullivan had grown up to be exactly who she'd wanted to be. And now, she was moving to Portland. On the 4th day, I texted the number she'd provided. "Coffee sounds good. Thursday, 2 p.m. at Heart Coffee on Burnside?" Her response came almost immediately. "I'll be there. Can't wait to see you, Ethan." I told myself I was just being polite, that I was simply catching up with an old friend, that I would tell Olivia about it afterward. More lies. Thursday arrived, and I found myself spending an embarrassing amount of time deciding what to wear. I settled on a casual button-down and jeans, trying not to look like I was trying too hard. I arrived 15 minutes early, claimed a table by the window, and then spent those 15 minutes alternating between checking my phone and watching the door. And then she walked in. 14 years had passed, but I recognized her instantly. The same warm brown eyes, the same dimple when she smiled. Her dark hair was shorter now, falling just below her shoulders instead of down her back. She was dressed in a simple blue dress and white sneakers, looking both professional and approachable. She scanned the cafe, her face lighting up when she saw me. I stood as she approached, unsure of the appropriate greeting for your high school sweetheart after 14 years of silence. She solved the problem by pulling me into a hug. "Ethan Barrett," she said, her voice both familiar and new. "You grew up handsome." "Emma Sullivan," I replied, suddenly feeling 18 again. "You grew up exactly as beautiful as I expected." We ordered coffee and found ourselves falling into conversation as if no time had passed at all. She told me about medical school, her residency, the challenges and rewards of pediatric surgery. I shared stories about my basketball career and its abrupt end, my pivot to marketing, my life in Portland. For 2 hours, we talked, laughed, and reconnected. Not once did I mention Olivia. Not once did Emma ask if I was seeing anyone. It was as if we'd created a bubble where only our shared past and potential future existed. As our time together drew to a close, Emma placed her hand on mine. "So," she said, eyes twinkling with a mixture of playfulness and genuine uncertainty, "about that pact." "You were serious about that?" I asked, even though her email had made it clear she was. "I've dated a lot of men, Ethan. Good men, mostly, but none of them were you." She squeezed my hand. "Maybe it's ridiculous to think we could pick up where we left off after all this time. Maybe I'm being incredibly presumptuous, assuming you're even single." "I'm not," I blurted out, guilt finally breaking through. "Single, I mean. I'm in a relationship, 3 years now." Emma's face fell for just a moment before she composed herself. "Oh, well, that's wonderful. She must be amazing." "She is," I said automatically. "Olivia she's great." An awkward silence fell between us. "I should have mentioned that in my response to your email," I added lamely. "No, I should have asked instead of assuming." Emma withdrew her hand from mine. "I'm sorry if I made things weird. I always wondered what would have happened if we'd tried to make the long distance work." "Me too," I admitted, the words escaping before I could stop them. Our eyes met, and in that moment, I felt something shift inside me, like tectonic plates realigning, changing the landscape of my heart. "I'm staying at the Hoxton downtown," she said quietly. "I'll be here until Sunday, looking at apartments. If you want to talk more, well, you have my number." As I watched her walk away, I knew I was standing at a crossroads. The safe, logical path led back to Olivia and our comfortable life together. The other path, the one that suddenly beckoned with surprising strength, led somewhere unknown, guided only by a promise made 14 years ago and the undeniable connection I'd just felt with Emma. I wish I could say I made the right choice immediately. I didn't. The decision. For 2 days, I was a mess of indecision and guilt. I went through the motions with Olivia, all while my mind kept drifting to Emma. I reread her email countless times. I found myself looking through old photos from high school that I'd kept in a box in my closet. Olivia noticed something was off. "Are you okay?" she asked on Friday night, as we were having dinner at our favorite restaurant. "You seem distracted." I should have told her then. Instead, I blamed work stress and changed the subject. That night, As Olivia slept beside me, I made a list of pros and cons, like deciding between job offers or apartments, as if this were a rational decision rather than one that would alter multiple lives. Olivia pros. We have a stable, healthy relationship. We share the same values and life goals. She's brilliant, kind, and supportive. Our families get along well. We've built a life together. Olivia cons. Sometimes I wonder if we've settled into comfort rather than passion. She wants to stay in Portland, but I've been feeling pulled toward change. Emma pros. The connection between us is undeniable, even after all these years. She makes me feel alive in a way I'd forgotten. We once had big dreams together. The promise we made, though objectively this shouldn't matter. Emma cons. We're practically strangers now. Abandoning a good relationship for a what-if is insane. I could destroy something real for something that might not work. Looking at it objectively, the choice was clear. Stay with Olivia. Be a decent human being. Don't throw away 3 years for a nostalgic fantasy. But then I remembered something my grandfather once told me. When you have to make a list to decide if you love someone, you've already made your choice. The truth hit me like a thunderbolt. If I truly loved Olivia the way she deserved to be loved, there would be no decision to make. The very fact that I was considering leaving her for Emma meant something fundamental was missing. Something I hadn't wanted to acknowledge. On Saturday morning, I texted Emma. "Can we meet tomorrow before you leave? I need to talk to you." Her response, "I'll be at Powell's Books at 11 a.m., second floor, literature section." Then I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I sat Olivia down and told her the truth. All of it. About Emma's email, our coffee date, the pact we'd made, and the feelings that had resurfaced. I expected anger. I expected tears. What I didn't expect was the sad recognition in her eyes. "I've always felt like you were holding something back," she said after a long silence. "Like there was a part of yourself you never fully gave to me. Now I know why." "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "You deserve better than this." "Yes," she agreed, wiping away a tear. "I do. I deserve someone who wouldn't hesitate. Someone who wouldn't need to make this choice." The breakup was painful, but remarkably civil. We agreed I would move out immediately. I packed a suitcase of essentials and booked a hotel room, promising to arrange for the rest of my things while she was at work the following week. As I closed the door to our apartment, now just her apartment, I felt simultaneously terrible and free. I was abandoning something solid for something uncertain. I was hurting someone I cared about deeply. But for the first time in years, I was also being completely honest about what I truly wanted. Powell's Books and beyond. The next morning, I arrived at Powell's Books with my heart pounding. I found Emma exactly where she said she'd be, browsing through classic novels in the literature section. She looked up as I approached, her expression cautious but hopeful. "Hey, hey," I replied, suddenly unsure what to say next. "Did you bring good news or bad news?" she asked, cutting through the awkwardness. "I don't know yet," I said honestly. "I ended things with Olivia." Emma's eyes widened. "Ethan, I never meant for you to—" "It wasn't just because of you," I interrupted. "It was because of me. Because meeting you again made me realize something was missing. Something I'd been ignoring." She nodded slowly, processing my words. "So what happens now?" "Now, I honor a promise I made when I was 18, I said, reaching for her hand. "If you still want me to." Her smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. "I do. What followed was the most impulsive, exhilarating, terrifying 6 months of my life. Emma moved to Portland as planned. We dated, really dated, getting to know the adults we'd become while remembering the teenagers we'd been. We fought and made up. We shared our fears and dreams. We fell in love all over again, this time with the wisdom and perspective that comes with age. And 6 months after that coffee shop reunion, on the anniversary of our high school graduation, I took Emma back to that same lake where we'd made our pact. Tyler's family still owned the property, and he was happy to let us visit for an afternoon. The dock had been rebuilt, our old initials lost to time and weather. But the setting sun on the water looked just the same as it had 14 years earlier. And when I got down on one knee, the expression on Emma's face made every difficult moment worth it. "We're a few months past 32, I said, opening the ring box, "but I figure better late than never. Emma Sullivan, will you marry me?" "A promise is a promise," she replied with tears in her eyes, pulling me to my feet and into her arms. 3 months later, we were married in a small ceremony with just family and close friends. Notably absent was Olivia, though I'd heard through mutual connections that she was dating someone new, a fellow attorney who, by all accounts, adored her in the all-encompassing way she deserved. 1 year later. Reflection. It's been a year since Emma and I got married, and I'm still occasionally struck by the absurdity of our story. Who actually marries their high school sweetheart because of a pact made at 18? It sounds like the plot of a romantic comedy, not real life. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes the wildest decisions are the right ones. Sometimes what looks like recklessness from the outside is actually bravery. The courage to follow your heart when logic tells you otherwise. Do I regret hurting Olivia? Absolutely. She was and is a wonderful person who deserved better than being someone's second choice. If I could change how I handled things, I would have been honest sooner, both with her and with myself. Do I regret choosing Emma? Not for a second. Our life together isn't perfect. Emma's surgical schedule means long hours and middle-of-the-night emergencies. My job sometimes requires travel. We're learning to navigate the day-to-day realities of marriage, bills, chores, families, and all the mundane details that romantic movies conveniently skip over. But there's a difference between the challenges we face with Emma and the comfort I settled for with Olivia. With Emma, even our disagreements feel meaningful. Even our hardest days feel right, because we're facing them together. Last month, Emma told me she's pregnant. In 7 months, we'll welcome a child who would never have existed if we hadn't both remembered a promise made under a starry sky 14 years ago. Life is strange that way. The seemingly small moments, a pinky promise on a dock, an email sent on a whim, can alter the entire course of your existence. I abandoned a 3-year relationship for a high school promise. I chose uncertainty over security, passion over comfort, past over present. It was reckless. It was selfish. It was the biggest gamble I've ever taken, and I won. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to my channel. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever reconnected with someone from your past? Would you honor a pact like this? Let me know below.